Thank you so much for joining us today. I would like to begin by asking that what are the steps that the Liberal government, if elected, will take to give some assurance to the Hindu community, because there, as you mentioned, have been certain attacks on Hindu temples, not one arrest so far, and there is a kind of an underlying, anxiety in the community, even though this community has contributed so much to Australia, that it's kind of overlooked. So, what steps the Liberal government is likely to take, different from the current government, which could address the situation?
Well, firstly, we will prioritise the investigation and enforcement of laws that deal with religiously inspired violence. So we have already passed in the last Parliament laws to strengthen the criminal penalties for people who engage in hate crimes or attacks against places of worship. We have also announced the establishment of a special task force between Australian Federal Police and state police forces to not only target anti-Semitism but look at other forms of religiously motivated violence. As I said in response to one of the questions, I've already written to the ACT Chief Minister about attacks on Hindu temples in the Canberra area, and we will show strong leadership. We think that is what has been lacking from this government, strong leadership against attacks directed at intimidating and menacing religious communities.
And would you say that that Hindu phobia is a problem, and that also needs to be addressed at some level?
Look, I think in Australia we always have more work to do to improve our mutual understanding and tolerance and respect. And sadly, forms of religious prejudice and discrimination do still exist in Australia. So we certainly want to, I don't doubt that it's genuine, and we want to make sure that it does not manifest itself in acts of violence or intimidation, or that any community, any religious community in Australia feels unsafe.
Yeah, and I would like to ask you, you're standing from Parramatta, which has a significant number of the Indian diaspora there. What would you like to say to them, that why should they vote for you, and what do you think about the larger India-Australia relationship?
Well, we're so lucky, I'm so lucky to live in the Parramatta area where we do get to enjoy this diverse, multicultural richness in Western Sydney, and Parramatta is somewhere where we get to experience that at a really high level. And I've been so excited with the announcements that the Liberal Party has been able to make during this campaign, including our commitment of $8.5 million towards the Hindu school. And also tonight, I was really excited to be able to announce that an elected Liberal government will invest $2.4 million towards supporting Karma Kitchen in recognition of what the Hindu community does for our broader community here in Parramatta and in Western Sydney. So those are two key things that we'll be doing for the Indian community also. But really, what we're facing in Western Sydney, whatever background you come from, is the same thing that everyone else is facing. When I'm out talking to people, it's not that people from different backgrounds are telling me different things. Everyone is really struggling under this cost of living crisis. And that doesn't discriminate by way of your background. So one of the first things that the Liberal Party will be doing is making sure that we tackle the cost of living crisis, because people simply can't continue the way they are. And when I'm out talking to people, it's number 1, 2, and 3 of their concerns. So that is our first priority, isn't it, Dave?
Absolutely. Look, we, as you would know from the slogan, we want to get Australia back on track, and that's supporting households and individuals deal with this cost of living crisis, and then longer term making sure people who work hard, people who save up money can afford a home, people who start a business can succeed. We want business and economic conditions to improve in Australia, and that will benefit every community.
Yeah, and I would also like to ask both of you that security is another issue, because we've seen there are certain elements that have imported foreign conflicts here and created a social disharmony. So what will be the Liberal Party's stand on those issues? I mean, of course there's freedom of speech, but when freedom of speech starts becoming a threat for others, then how would you strike a balance? Because again, that is an issue that is also of concern.
Well, I would say that Australia has succeeded as a pluralistic nation because we have not allowed the importation of ancient or foreign or historical enmities to be played out here in Australia, whether it's from Europe or the former Yugoslavia or Indochina or any part of the world. And we do not want to see that happen here in Australia. So yes, people are allowed to exercise their right to political freedom and political expression, but those rights cannot come at the expense of other people's rights. If other communities are not able to venture out safely in their communities, if they're not able to go to places of worship, if they're not able to send their children to school, if they're not able to turn out and express their own political views for fear of violence or harassment, then that has gone too far and we've lost control of the country. And too often in the last 15 months, we have seen what starts as freedom of expression turn into violence, intimidation, incitement, and the government has been nowhere to be seen.
Yeah. And just lastly, if you were to appeal to voters why they should vote for the Liberals and not for the Labour again, 3 points.
Well, we in Australia, in the Liberal Party, value and support aspiration. We want to support families get ahead. We want to allow them to make their own life choices about how to raise their children and what values they should be taught. And we want to help them succeed in whatever they do, whether that's starting a business or whether that's a profession. The Labor government wants to support certain interest groups, special interests, whether it's the trade unions or particular professions or particular suburbs or particular areas. We seek to govern for all Australians, and we believe that the nation is better off when everyone has a choice and when everyone has the opportunities to succeed.
Under this Labor government, we have seen the biggest decline in living standards across the whole developed world, and you have to ask yourself, really, can we afford to keep going in that direction? Australians deserve better, and we can't afford 3 more years of Labor.